Live from the City of Angels Sunday morning, breaking box office. We have one of the biggest bombs of the year in Mufasa. Let's start with that because it was an absolute disaster for Disney. What a year they had, right? Over 2 billion domestically, now 5 billion worldwide on the box office. But this is not how you want to end your year. A $200 million film goes down in flames with just $35 million. Now, to give you some idea of how bad this is, let's go back and compare it to the 2019, the live action slash reanimated Lion King in 2019. You look at that film at nearly $192 million debut. So we are off $155 million plus on the debut. That's minus 82%. I mean, guys, disastrous, right? And the thing is audiences just didn't want to see the film. Obviously, that's very clear when you have a $35 million debut. Internationally, we add 87.2, and that's not even that great. That should be higher. So across the globe, people are like, we really didn't want to see a prequel. We were done. And Disney received the message loud and clear. Now, there is good news. I'm going to go over the numbers, but I'll tell you, here's the difference between this weekend and virtually every other weekend. We are rolling into the Christmas corridor, right? Some say holiday corridor. Too bad. If you're offended, it's the Christmas corridor. It's 2 weeks, right? Kids are out of school. They are going to go to the movies virtually every day like it's a Friday or Saturday. The numbers will be strong every single weekday, with the exception of Christmas Eve. Christmas gets busy later in the day. So you're looking at, though, a weird schedule in that you're not talking about the typical outcome for a daily number on these films. So that's good news for Mufasa and for Sonic. We'll talk about Sonic in a minute because that's the number one film. We'll discuss that, break it down in a second. I do want to get to the overall numbers, demographics, all that from Mufasa as we talk about this bomb at $35 million. They do have the A- cinema score, lower than Lion King 2019, an A. So that is as low as you want to go for cinema score on a family movers, A-. So this isn't even really a strong, and the film's not great. Go back to Thursday night here on MMT. We told you guys what a boring 2 hours this film is, and audiences didn't even bother to check it out. They don't even care. They're like, I'm not going to go. And it does have a 4.5 out of 5 post track. That's solid. But again, it really doesn't matter when you're talking about $35 million. The IMAX screens this weekend were dead. Okay. You're looking at only 9% of the cash coming from that and 9% of pretty much exclusivity in IMAX. Guys, go look today. If you have fun, get the AMC app, look at the IMAX screens for Mufasa today, and you can have rows and rows to yourself. That is a really atrocious sign, as you see with these numbers here this morning. 3D, 18% of folks opted to see it in that format. Demographics: female 54, male 46, under 12 19%, 13 to 17 11%, 18 24 16%, 25 34 23%, and then the numbers drop from there. So even the older folks didn't want to see it, right? They're the nostalgia play and they didn't show up. So that is problematic, obviously, as we look at this thing. And we talk about the international across Europe. Mufasa opened number one in all major markets, as well as most smaller markets, except Norway. Very important to note. Third biggest opening of 2024 in South Africa. This is where we're leading. We are leading with the third biggest opening in South Africa. That is how Disney's going to spin this here this morning. It's accurate, but it is a spin job. Across Latin America, Mufasa opened number one in every market. Also, across Asia Pacific, Mufasa opened number one in every market. But again, the numbers are so low. So that is the issue, is that even though it opened number one, they're just not that strong in numbers. So this isn't good for theaters either, because you think about it, theatrical was expecting Mufasa to be a big hit, and it just isn't, obviously. So that's going to be a problem, especially for those PLF screens, in particular IMAX. IMAX has this thing tied up. I mean, you can't show anything but Mufasa. And again, just check it out. Go to the AMC app, Regal app, whatever you use. Go look at your IMAX screens. And you'll see nobody is in these screenings. So that's really a bad sign, obviously. How many more times can we say that this morning? So, disaster for Disney. Conversely, it's pretty good news for Paramount. 62 million on the debut for Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and you're looking at minus 10 million versus the last in the debut. Now, here's how I'll spin that. Very easy to spin. Again, Christmas corridor. People waited. You saw this happen with Avatar 2. Didn't have a tremendous debut. Certainly better than Mufasa. And Sonic 2 is the kind of film that will do well, obviously, throughout the week. Family film, kids will go see it. You've got nostalgia with even my generation with the Genesis console. You have all of that going on. So this film will do well Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all week and through the whole next week. So watch this thing stack cash fast. So 62 million, even though it's minus 10 on Sonic 2, you can definitely say that it's going to pick up and be just fine over the Christmas corridor. All these films that are cramming in here are taking advantage of the fact that, like I said, this is the biggest movie going fortnight of the movie-going calendar. So that's why you have all of these adult dramas piling in too. The Brutalist, we'll talk about in a minute, debuted on 4 screens, 4 locations this weekend, and you're looking at Complete Unknown coming in, Nosferatu coming in, Baby Girl. You've got all kinds of films that are making their way into the multiplex now because adults are off too. They don't have work, so they want to see some movies. And I have some good news. Another great film, The Nickel Boys. Nickel Boys is one of the best films of the year. And we'll discuss that tonight on the Sunday Evening Spectacular with the live MMT evaluation of that film. But that's why the studios cram all these films in here, because they know they have a captive audience that is ready to go to the multiplex. Domestically, I do not have international numbers on Sonic yet. I'm not sure what the rollout is from Paramount. Exactly. I don't think it went totally wide international like Disney likes to do. Everywhere, all at once, bang, here it is. Paramount does things a little differently. Universal a lot of times opens their films overseas, and then here. We'll get to Wicked in a minute, but I just want to mention that before we get into these demos. 54% general audience, 46% family, 59% male, 41% female for Sonic 3. 18 and 34, 43%. So huge with that younger demo. And that is what the studios want. And that's what you get with Sonic 3. 39% Caucasian, 34% Hispanic, 17% Black, 5% Asian, and 5% other. General audience, 66, excellent. Said it was excellent, 66% of the audience. 23%, very good. Total positive, 89%. I'm not going to see the movie because I'm just not interested. I saw 2, and I really didn't need to see another Sonic. And again, I played on the Genesis console way back in the early 90s. This isn't my thing, okay? Lion King wasn't either, but at least I could look at the beautiful planes and the wonderful CGI, which wasn't even that good. But at least there was something there. Plus, I had entire rows to myself at IMAX. I'm not going to see Sonic. I'm just going to skip it. And, I did that with Moana too. I'm allowed, right? I don't have to see every movie. It's not for me. It's not what I want to watch. It's just not that kind of film. I'd rather spend my time getting to something that might make me go, wow, this is something I want to talk about, not Sonic 3. Performance highlights over-indexed in the West and South Central U.S., over-indexed in the Northeast, slightly under-indexed in the Midwest, my home state of Ohio. Go Buckeyes, going to the Rose Bowl, and under-indexed in the mountain region. Canada came in with a market share of 6.2% on 8% of the locations. The major markets that over-indexed for Sonic 3, LA, Houston, Orlando, San Antonio, Detroit, Las Vegas, and Fresno. The major market that under-indexed, Toronto, Boston, Denver, Minneapolis, and Montreal. Top theaters, LA, Fresno, New York, Phoenix, Orlando, Baltimore, on and on. 21% of box office came from premium screens, PLF, 17%, motion seats, 4%. That is your breakdown on Sonic 2. Again, the big takeaway there is that it has the Christmas quarter to pick up the cash that it's missing from that Sonic 2 debut, plus to push even higher. I'm sure we'll get a Sonic 4 because at the end of this thing and running into going to January, it's going to be a big hit. Obviously, hundreds of millions of dollars. So I think we're going to get a 4. Wicked 13.5 on the weekend. It's your third film. Number 3, minus 40%. Here's the breakdown of Wicked as we look at the international and the domestic. Important as we look at this all the time. Whenever I bring up Wicked, you have to look right here. Domestic, 383. International, 187. So $200-ish million higher stateside versus overseas. And then the total on the worldwide is 571.3. Again, if you had that international cash equal to the domestic cash on Wicked, we'd be looking at something like 700 million, but instead we're at 571. That's the difference. Same thing we saw with Twisters. Some films do not travel. Obviously, Wicked, Broadway show, didn't travel as well overseas. That's why you see the numbers that you do. But Wicked is still holding in strong at 13.5 million. And what is this, the 5th, 6th weekend? It's been a while. I mean, how many weekends is this? Let me see if it has it here. Doesn't even have it. I think it's got to be at least the 6th weekend or something like that. So it's still doing very well and holding. And again, will be a play throughout the entire Christmas corridor, just like Moana 2. As you see here, it was number 4, down 50%, which is interesting because now Wicked is ahead of Moana 2, even though it opened before. You're seeing, because remember, the appeal for Wicked is broader. We talked about this before, okay? Even though I think stateside, obviously, when you look at, even though Moana 2 is almost, I'm just telling you, the available audience for Wicked 2 is ultimately going to be slightly bigger because you're going to get the kids to come just like Moana 2, but more adults are going to check out Wicked. Like, look, great example. Me, I didn't see Moana 2, but I saw Wicked. That's what I'm talking about. Those people on the fence will pick Wicked over Moana 2, right? So that makes your audience slightly bigger, even though the families would be a little heavier on Moana 2. I'm just going to want more of an upper age bracket on my film. Along with, and that's what Wicked has. It's a 4-quad film, right? Obviously. Let's get down and let's get to the numbers from Moana. I get you the latest. The global cum on this now is $790.2 million as we roll back to the Disney email. I don't know why it just rebooted for me, but it's 790. So it's almost 800 million. So that is obviously a huge win for Disney, and they can focus on that rather than Mufasa, which is the worst possible way to end the year with a film that cost $200 million, $100 million in promotional spend. You're talking about $300 million, and this film debuts with 120 worldwide. So it's going to lose them so much cash, Mufasa. There's not going to be, I'm sorry to say for Beyonce and her offspring, there's not going to be a Lion King 3, right? Or 2.5 or whatever the hell the cartoon version was. We're not going to do that. It's over. It's dead. We're going to drag a carcass around through the Christmas corridor, and then we're going to bury it, and it's over, along with Mufasa. Well, I mean, it is Mufasa, or the entire, we're burying the entire family here. That's unfortunate, but it's true. Here we go. Homestead, 6 million. That is the latest Angel Studios release. As we pull up the top 10 in a moment, but I just want to mention that's a decent, I guess, debut. But again, it'll benefit from the Christmas corridor. A lot of folks, faith-based. Even though, I don't know, at Christmas time, do you want to watch Armageddon, Let's Go Survive on top of a mountain after a nuclear war film? Is that really what you want to watch over the holidays? Maybe you want to watch The Brutalist. Let's go to the latest on that, A24 with the email here. Let's just read, because I love, listen, they craft these emails and people just quickly go through them. They don't really pay attention. So we're going to give the A24 PR person who put this together a little bit of love this morning on Breaking Box Office. Thanks for being here, MMT Live, as always. The Brutalist blasted into theaters this weekend with one of the best limited openings of the year. The film sold out close to 30 showtimes in New York and LA, grossing $266,791 on just 4 screens. That is a massive PSA or PTA of 66,698. Anticipation to see Brady Corbet's towering epic started at the world premiere in Venice, where he won Best Director and has built Momentum throughout the fall season. A terrific ensemble led by the incomparable Adrian Brody has lauded supporting turns from Guy Pearce and Felicity Jones. The film has racked up numerous. Okay, that's it. That's enough. It'll stay limited in New York and LA over the holidays before expanding nationwide in January. So that is your latest on the Brutalist. I still haven't seen it. I'm waiting for a recliner. I'm not going to watch it unless I can see it in a recliner at AMC. It's 4 hours long. You think I'm going to sit in some cramped ass theater for 4 hours, even with an intermission? Hell no. I'm waiting for my very comfy AMC recliner. And I can chill, maybe sit in the back. If I get bored, I can walk off for a minute or two. I know I'm not seeing it in the optimal format. I get it, but you got to remember, that's a long time to sit in a chair. I will watch it. I watch every film that matters. Even the ones that don't matter, I have to suffer through. So do not question my commitment to theatrical or to cinema. Ever. Do not do that. Sonic is your number one film. Top 10. Let's do it real quick. Sonic number one, 62 million. Mufasa gets gutted in the carcass dragged around the multiplex at 35 million. Wicked is now at 383.9 million domestic alone, 570 plus million on the worldwide. Moana 2 up to almost 800 million worldwide is your number 4 film. Homestead number 5. Gladiator 2 with 154, let's call it, $1 million stateside, as that film still hangs in there as it is now in week number, is that 4? Such an underwhelming film. I already forget the majority of it, as should you. If you saw Gladiator 2 and think that's great cinema, my God, we got to get you in front of some good movies. Because that's just, Ridley Scott needs to retire. Do I need to say it again? Okay, we just said it again. Kraven the Hunter, number 7, is down 72%. Ooh, I mean, come on. Red 1 is now the champion over the Fall Guy for worldwide box office. It now has $182 million worldwide. So everyone who said no one saw Red 1's a bomb, it still lost money, but it made more money than the Fall Guy. And I know the Fall Guy wasn't a huge hit. No one's saying. But you know what I'm saying? Remember, when we're spinning stuff, we need to make sure that our facts are accurate. And 182 million is okay. It's better than like 82 million for Red 1. So Amazon, and we're always going to applaud an Amazon or Apple when they used to do it, but occasionally we're going to applaud them versus Netflix. I was thinking of that last night when I'm sitting there through Nickel Boys, one of the best films of the year. We'll tell you why tonight. When I'm watching Nickel Boys, I'm like, thank you, Amazon, MGM, for not being Netflix. Because if Nickel Boys was Netflix, I would never see it. I'm not watching Netflix movies. And that would be a shame because Nickel Boys is great for so many reasons. But Netflix sucks, okay? As kindly as I can put it here on a Sunday morning. I'll curse more tonight. Do not ever discuss them. I don't care about their airplane film that's just came out with Jason Bateman that I actually would like to watch. I don't want to talk about them. I don't want to support them. You shouldn't support them. They're not supporting theatrical. I don't care if they put it in 7 theaters in an indie theater that's 45 minutes from your house. Doesn't count. And until they change, we're not going to support anything they do. Not a single film. Lord of the Rings, Rohirrim fell 72%, matching Kraven the Hunter on the drop. That film just went nowhere. The total is 7.3 million on Lord of the Rings, Rohirrim. Damn, I thought you guys said there's a bunch of people who like Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is my favorite thing. I watch all the shows. If you watch all the anti-woke streamers, you would think that's the only thing anyone talks about. Lord of the Rings, what did they do to this character? Did they make an orc trans? Oh my God, why do you watch that shit, guys? It's so dumb. Literally, my brain cells from even saying the sentence I just said. I just literally am getting fucking dumber by the second. Is the orc transsexual? Oh my God. Even if it is, why are you even discussing it like that? So get a life. Get out and touch grass. Do something that is substantive in this world rather than talk about orcs and trans and elves and Jesus criminy. It's so pathetic. Christmas pageant ever, the best one ever. 3. You knew I couldn't get out of here with railing on the trans orcs. Sully, I will slander Ridley Scott as much as possible. Jay, thanks for being here. It's always fun to be live, even on a Sunday morning. I'm going off to play volleyball. By the way, you did call 35, Shay Ray. I'll give you some love on that. I had 50 going down. I mean, I should have taken it at 30. That was my mistake. Joseph with Mufasa underperforming. Could that be the beginning of the end for the Disney live action remakes? That's a great question. Let's talk about that tonight. That's a great Sunday night conversation. We have so much to talk about tonight, guys. We have the whole thing with Blake Lively. That's insanity. We have to talk about it because it has to do with a movie that was in theaters. So of course we can discuss that. The drama, the lawsuit, Justin getting dropped by William Morris. Oh, there's so much to discuss there. Also, we have Nickel Boys, one of my favorite films of the year for so many reasons. We'll talk about that tonight, MMT Evaluation Live, as always, and a bunch of other things going on. We will discuss it. Come in with comments here to this, and I'll think about adding it to the big show. But I think it's a great topic we can talk about tonight. Is Mufasa the death knell of the live action remake? It's definitely on life support at best. I think Snow White's in huge trouble. I mean, right? If Mufasa just went down like this, after all of the hate that has been thrown towards Snow White, you think that film's going to do much better? I mean, curiosity factor, but overall, Snow White could be as big, as colossal of a catastrophe as Mufasa. I would put money on that today, that is exactly how that'll go down. We'll talk about that a little bit more tonight. Until then, live City of Angels, always a pleasure here breaking box office off the air. See you tonight for the Sunday evening spectacular.